the central idea of the passage is? Option A says, the relationship between sestates and octaves. This is very much limited because we see octaves and sestates mentioned here in the third paragraph. To an extent, there is a reference to that in the fourth paragraph, but that's it. This is the only reference to this. This cannot be the central idea. It's extremely limited. Option A is incorrect. Option B says, the anti-Petrarchan characteristics of Sonnet 130. This is very much true, and this covers almost the entirety of the passage. We see Petrarchan sonnets or Elizabethan sonnets even introduced in the first few lines. Sonnet 130 mentioned here in the first paragraph is directly mentioned as being anti-Petrarchan. Sonnet 130, written by William Shakespeare, developed into an anti-Petrarchan position by denying the image of Petrarchan poets' mistresses who were always ideal and idolized. The idealization, the conceit of Petrarchan, the mistresses in Petrarchan sonnets, those are mentioned here. These have been inverted, these have been rejected here. We see in essence that this goes against the idea of the Petrarchan conceit. In addition, he described that his mistress, when she walked, she treaded on the ground, which indicated his mistress was a real woman, but not like the ideal goddess-like or fictional lovers that other poets created. Petrarchan sonnets have been explained here, as in their structure has been explained here. In the following statement, we find that Elizabethan sonnets had a different structure. Sonnet 130 again is presented as having the same kind of structure as Elizabethan sonnets, which is different from Petrarchan sonnets. So this again shows us or gives us evidence that Sonnet 130 was anti-Petrarchan. And then if we come to the last paragraph, it says here, the speaker described what his mistress was, but never actually accounted for what she was like. Therefore, his mistress was used only as an imagistic character. Not only that, the speaker had never shown any passion to his mistress. We did not receive a clear idea whether the speaker truly loved his mistress or not. This is also in essence something that Petrarchan poetry or Petrarchan sonnets do not do. We contrast this with the facts where it is mentioned that Petrarchan poetry, it idolizes. We've already seen the reference in the first paragraph. It idolizes the mistresses. We can also contrast this here. The couplet distorted her image by reversing the figure that was already created by the speaker, where the readers would be confused by what she really looked like. On the other hand, by remarking the mistress of the speaker was not ugly, it would imply that the ideal mistresses were not truly beautiful, but where their lovers lie. So in this, we see that there is still, in essence, a deep contrasting of Sonnet 130 from or as compared to Petrarchan sonnets. So option B is quite true. That is a valid answer. Option C tells us to describe Sonnet 130 by William Shakespeare. This is outside the premise. Sonnet 130 has been mentioned in the passage. It is the central idea. It has been contrasted to Petrarchan sonnets, but it has not been described. The only description that we have is of Elizabethan sonnets, the structure of the rhyme and meter of Elizabethan sonnets, and also in comparison Petrarchan sonnets. We see Sonnet 130 has the same kind of structure. That's it. Once again, this is extremely limited. So this cannot be the central idea. C is incorrect. Option D says, the comparison of mistresses to nature through the ages. Now this has two problems. First off, this is limited because the comparison with nature is mentioned here. There's one more mention further down in the passage, idolizing the mistress into a goddess-like figure. There's one mention here, but that's it. So this is extremely limited. Compared to this, we saw that option B has much more coverage across the passage. And second, the comparison of the mistresses to nature is done in Petrarchan poetry, Petrarchan sonnets. We see here the Petrarchan conceit has been mentioned. Elizabethan sonnets also had this conceit, the Petrarchan conceit, but these are the only two eras, ages that have the comparison of the mistress to nature, or they have the use of the blazon or the Petrarchan conceit. We cannot say through the ages. Through the ages means a timeless factor, which has always been done. We can say it only for these two ages, the Petrarchan age or the Petrarchan tradition of poetry, and the Elizabethan age. That's it. So again, extremely limited, partially outside the premise. D is incorrect. We can eliminate it. Option B is the correct answer.